Hey everybody, it's Kelby with Fire Through Fog. I wanted to take the time to thank you personally for giving us your time to listen to these episodes and supporting us. And if you want to support us any other way, you can go to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Fire Through Fog, where there's some other posts and all the episodes get posted there. So if you want to help out, spread this as far and as wide as possible, it would be greatly appreciated. Again, thank you for listening to our episodes, and I hope you enjoyed today's. All right, good evening, everybody. It's Kelby. I'm here with Uke tonight. How you doing, man?
Great, man.
Cool.
Excited about this one.
Cool. Yeah, I am too. So we've got a pretty heavy hitter. He is known as the sales CEO, Corey Berrier. How you doing tonight, Corey?
I'm good, brother. How are you? Thanks
Good.
for having me.
Good, of course. I mean, we got connected through the Lions Den, which definitely has already seems like it's going to be paying off for me, networking wise. I mean, I've already gotten 4 people set up through there to come on here with their stories. They're excited about it. I'm excited about it. So, I mean, let's just cut to it and hear who you are and what you do.
For sure, dude. So, so my name is Corey Berrier, and the sales CEO is the brand of my company, and I work with honestly, I work with frustrated business owners that run out of ideas. They despite their previous successes and their current best efforts, they suck. I mean, they're stuck basically. So I work internationally. I work with people in Peru. I work with some guys in Chile. I work with some guys in doesn't matter. I can't remember another country.
Yeah.
And then of course I work with people here in the US, and I come in and I just help connect the owner with the sales team, because lots of times what happens in business is the owner either does one of two things: either steps away, which is what most owners want to do. But what happens when you do that, unless you got a really strong team member, things could fall apart. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of times when you step away as the CEO or the owner that, you disconnect from the rest of the team, and that does not send a very good signal mm-hmm. to the rest of the team. And so what happens is things kind of fall apart and they don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
that's the biggest,
those two together.
Yeah. So is that the biggest problem you run into with these, is just the disconnection of those two parties?
That oftentimes that is the case. And then honestly, this is going to sound really simple, but I help people overcome the fear of selling. And if you have never been in a sales role, I don't expect you to understand, but I will tell you, I mean, I've been in sales for 25 years, mm-hmm. and there's still fear involved. And yeah. I coach people on the fear, mm-hmm. but I still have it sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah. I've had one question I've always wanted to ask someone that's pretty well off into sales. Do you think anyone and everyone can do sales?
I think if you get your mind right, yes. Mm-hmm. And here's why I say that. So if you think about extroverts, lots of people would probably think I'm an extrovert because I'm in sales. I'm pretty loud, whatever. But the truth is, internally, I'd rather just be home. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to go out to the bars. So I don't drink. That's first thing. But I prefer just to stay home with my wife and just chill. Now, you got to watch out for people that are super introverted, because you don't see them coming in sales. You don't think of somebody being an introvert and being in sales. So to answer your question, yes, I think anybody can do it mm-hmm. if their mindset is correct.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Back up. You said that you don't drink anymore, and I know we kind of caught up, met, and talked last night. So, is there a reason to that now?
There is.
And that'll lead into your stories and everything that you said.
So I'm going to take you back to, I'll just take you back when I was 16 years old. I was in a pretty bad car accident. It was my fault. Hydroplaned, almost killed 2 people. I was not drinking and driving, but that's where I didn't even drink at the time. But ironically, my first cousin gave me a DUI during that wreck. Like, what the? I don't even know. He smelled pina colada, some shit in my car. Thought it was alcohol. It wasn't. They gave me blood test. It was a disaster because I had one lady, the girl that I was dating, who got thrown 85 feet out of my vehicle. They didn't even know she was in the wreck.
Wow.
And so she was in a coma for 8 days. Like, it was bizarre. And the lady that I hit was in a coma for 4 days. And then the front page news has me getting a DUI. So you can only imagine how that went over with my then girlfriend, or my then girlfriend's family. Her dad was a preacher. So you can only imagine it was a disaster. So fast forward a little bit. When I was 18, I graduated high school barely. And I went to work for my dad in the tobacco industry. And the tobacco industry, these guys, they drink every day at 5 o'clock. That's just what they do. It is what it is. Like probably a lot of people, to be honest. I think that, alcohol probably ruins more lives than anything else in this world.
Definitely.
And, well, I would say sugar and then alcohol, because it's so readily available. So I got a pretty good grasp during that time on I drank a lot during that time because that's what everybody did. Right. And so it is what it is. I left there after the first year.
I'm going to pause you real quick. Where did you say you were at? Because last night you said you were from where the Andy Griffith show was, right?
Yeah. From Mayberry. Yeah.
Mayberry. Yeah. What state is that?
It's in North Carolina. It's actually called Mount Airy now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's the original Mayberry.
That's crazy. And that's where you were at this time?
That is where, so when I graduated high school in Mount Airy, and then I moved to Wilson, North Carolina to work on the tobacco market. Gotcha. And then from there, I moved to Charlotte to go to school because, I was going to try going to college. That didn't work out. Drinking, drugs, you name it. But, the first night I was there, I got alcohol poison. Literally had to go home and sit in a tub for 3 days. It was awful. And it was fun, but it was awful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the next thing that happened, it was, I don't know, 20 days after I turned 21, I got stopped by a cop. I got a DUI. And then less than 30 days, actually, I got stopped by the same cop. And in Charlotte, which is a pretty big city, like the chances of that happening, I don't think are very good, but I was able to successfully have that happen. And so the issue is I was supposed to be in court that day. And I thought my attorney was going to court and he didn't. And so the cop knew exactly who I was because I was supposed to be in court that day and I didn't show up. So needless to say, he, of course, gave me another DUI. And you wouldn't think that was where it would stop, but it didn't. I was selling dope at the time, very small scale. And things in Charlotte just got sticky. Like I just was doing a bunch of blow and I just needed to get the hell out. And so interestingly, the next step in my life was really interesting because I went and so I had a good buddy he was John Edwards, the senator, right? He was his right-hand man. And so I was good friends with him. So by default, I got an opportunity to go to go to the Republican National Convention in 2000. Now, I did that, and it was super cool. It was in Philadelphia. I was there for about 3 weeks, and what we did is we sold memorabilia to both the protesters and to the Republicans. And it was unbelievable. It was just such an amazing experience that I'm guessing most people don't even get to do that. And so I went back in 2004. Let me back up. I sobered up a little bit. Wow, I actually missed a massive part of that. Yeah, in between 2000 and 2004 is when I moved to Las Vegas. So after I left
Charlotte.
Philly,
Oh, Philly.
I moved. Yep, I went.
Okay.
That's where I went to the Republican National Convention
Mm-hmm.
in 2000, and then I moved back. I moved back to my hometown once again. Got into drugs, and I've had a weird feeling, dude. I don't know how to describe it, but I just felt like something was not right. And so I called my buddy who lived in Vegas, and I said, "Hey, we were just talking," and he was like, "Why don't you just move out here?" So I was telling him, I'm like, "I don't know, something seems off." And so the next day, that night, I called. I got a bus ticket, and I didn't never been on a bus in my not bus train, never been on a train in my life. So I bought a seat in the train, not a bed. Well, the fucking train was 5 days. So, um, and I of course I took a bunch of blow with me. I did wound up doing it on the train with a bunch of random people. It was freaking weird. And so I got to Vegas, and I'll fast forward a little bit. My buddy who I moved in with, we wound up getting into the crystal meth, and his wife or his fiance at the time kicked us both out. His answer was, "Let's move to Mexico," and I was like, "I'm not doing that." I wish that does not even make sense to me. And so he went back to her. I moved in with these two idiots, the guy with the snake,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where bizarre. I met a guy from the East Coast, and I hit it off with him because I didn't know anybody else from the East Coast. And so he asked me if I wanted to do a line. And so I went upstairs to do a line thinking it was cocaine. It wasn't. It was crystal meth. Well, at the time, I didn't see it coming. And if you may not have ever done crystal meth, but basically if you crush up a bottle, a glass bottle, and snort it, that's about what it feels like.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's not a good feeling. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. And so that's where I met a guy named Ed and a guy named Stormy. And so Ed was I was sitting on a couch upstairs in the East Coast guy's apartment. And Ed was to my left, Stormy was to my right. And I'm sitting here with these two guys. They knew each other from a maximum security prison. Now, remember, I'm from Mayberry. I grew up on a golf course, like not the place for me to be. And so we're watching something on television. A fucking news pops up, and these two guys are on the news. And they robbed a casino, and like I'm shitting my pants. Like I'm inside. I am freaking out because I don't know what to do. And so I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing. I just sat there, and they left. And the guy looked at me. He said, "I don't know how you're still sitting here." I said, "I don't know how I'm still sitting here. It won't be long. Trust me." So I got out of there. That was whatever. That was all said and done. Those guys got hemmed up. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I didn't have anything to do with that. And then I spent all my money in the casino. Classic. And I called my dad and I said, "Look, got robbed." Of course, he didn't fucking believe me, but he still got me a plane ticket. He said, "You come to Wilson. If I don't see you on the plane, or if you don't get on the plane, I'm going to drive out there and get you." And I was like, "Cool. That's all I needed. Just get me the money to get the damn ticket." So he did, and I moved to Wilson, and that's when I sobered up for a very brief amount of time. And I moved to Raleigh, where I live now, not in the same spot, but I moved to Raleigh and was doing some work in a restaurant, and that's when I got back into drugs. And so my drug dealer, so to speak, at the time, was moving to Maryland or DC or somewhere. And so he came over to my house, big dreadlocks and stuff. He was a super cool guy. And he was like, "Look, I've got two choices, and it's either you or somebody else, and I want to give you the first opportunity." He said, "I'll show you everything how I do it. I'll show you how I cut it. I'll show you how I bag it. I'll let you meet my guy, and it's done deal. Basically, a business in a box." So I took 24 hours and I thought about it, and I pulled the trigger and I went ahead and moved forward on it. Now let's fast forward to 2000, maybe mid 2004 ish. That's when my life really changed. I got stopped. I just read up. I had 4 ounces of cocaine on me, And the cop pulled me over, and I never carried coke in my pocket because it's just stupid. But you know the little pocket in your jeans, that little pocket up here, that's where I had it. And damn, he pulled it out. And I mean, what are you gonna say? Right? And clear as day what it is. And he's asked me, he said, you know, where's the rest of it? I told him because why lie at that point? And so, long story short, you know, they came and took all my shit, took my vehicle, took everything, and I was in jail. And so I was in jail for about 17 days. My probation officer at the time, by the way, somewhere in there, I got another DUI. So that's three. And my probation officer looked at the judge and said, there's absolutely no reason to save this dude. He is not going to quit. He's not going to change. Put him in prison. And I had a 35 to 42 month sentence over my head. And I mean, I was stroking out, dude. I thought I was good. I don't even know. I was losing my mind. First of all, I've been in jail for 17 days, which was a first of being in jail for that long. I've been booked and out the next day, but never 17 days. And then the thought, there's a really good chance I'm not going to be leaving there and going home. I'm going to be leaving there and going to prison. And I'm not a prison, like I would not do well in prison.
I feel the same way.
So, I can't even imagine. So the judge just looked at me, and honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I'm guessing it's because I'm white. That if I'd have been black, I'd have been fucked. That's just how I really do believe it. I really do believe that. But the guy gave me a chance, and he said, look, I'm going to give you 48 hours to find somewhere to go. Here's the catch. It has to be 6 months or more. And so I'm in jail. Like, how am I going to contact anybody? Nobody takes collect calls from jail, especially a rehab facility. So my stepmom at the time, you know, she saved my ass, to be honest with you. It's about the only good thing she did. She did. She got me in a place, and it was 6 months long. And so I went there and stayed for 6 months, and it was hell, but it was far better than the alternative. Now, I was dating this girl at the time, and sort of dating on and off. And by default, she became my girlfriend because guess what? She drove down to see me. She drove down to bring me shit. She was my girl. Like, what else? I didn't have any choice. And so I graduated this program, but here's the other thing that's nuts about this. There was Pentecostal holiness. I don't know if you know much about that, but they do a lot. And if you are Pentecostal, my apologies in advance, but they do some weird shit. And I mean, like talking in tongues. I mean, that stuff just seems odd to me. Maybe it's because I grew up differently. I don't know, but it was bizarre. And so I had to get married in order to leave that place because I was single, and you can't leave there as a dude single with a woman because they're completely against that.
Wow.
Whatever. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to get married then. I'll do whatever I have to do to get out of here. And look, there were days I considered cutting off a finger to get out of there. Like, that's how bad I hated it. And it was court ordered. So it's like they knew I had no choice but to be there. And those are the people that they just, you know, they can say, do whatever. And what are you going to do? Nothing. And so we got married, which was I say it's a mistake, but it got me out of there. Still didn't have a driver's license. That was also part of it. And this is when I was not the greatest person. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. And so I got married to her, and it was hell, dude. Like, we fought. Oh my God, we fought. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to get a job after a felony, no college. I mean, it was rough. And I mean, she would threaten to spike my drink with cocaine and call my probation officer. It was rough. Like, it was, I mean, and she had the power to do it. All she had to do was go buy the drug, and I'm fucked. And so fortunately she didn't do that. And so I did wind up getting a job. I was running a massage envy. I was the clinic administrator, so I was the highest person there, I guess, next to the owner. And I wound up fucking one of my employees, and that didn't go over well with the owner. So obviously, So I got fired. And when I got fired, I had just bought a vehicle and I was just about to get my license back. So fortunately, I had transportation, which was great because what came next was so my ex-wife, um, she went into the phone records and then she went into my email. And I was talking to this girl that um I had met up with at the when I got trained to be the clinic administrator in Arizona. And she was also a clinic administrator. We were there for work. And my ex-wife, though, thought I was cheating on her nonstop. And like I really was not cheating on her at all, period. I wasn't doing anything. And so when that opportunity, was exposed, I took the opportunity. I'm like, if I'm gonna be sentenced for cheating, I might as well just do it. And again, very different mindset than where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left there. I got fired. Well, my ex-wife, all the things I just explained to you. And so when I realized that she was the one changing my passwords, I didn't even. I was like, "What the fuck is going on with?" I think it was Yahoo at the time. I'm like, "What the hell?" Like Yahoo must have a glitch because my my password keeps getting changed, and I didn't. I sure as hell didn't put two and two together until she started forwarding my emails from my email, and it was she forwarded them from my email to her email back to me, and that's when I knew I was in deep shit. And so she raised hell at that place, and she ripped every piece of clothes I had and ripped them to shreds. And well, finally, I got out of that whole situation. Thank God. I moved out, and let's fast forward a few years. We'll fast forward to 2009, which is when I decided that my life needed a change. So in order for me to get my license back, I had to get the blow stick in my car. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's just, you have to blow into it, you have to count all that shit. It's a pain in the ass. But I had to have it for 7 years. Now, the good part of that is I think that's honestly what helped me stay sober those 7 years, because I blew into it the first time with alcohol in my breath, and after lying to the lady, telling her I didn't drink. And she said, if I see you in here again, you will never drive again. And that's all it really took for me. I couldn't risk. I know where I'm going in life, and that was not a part of the equation. Now, I had to do something because I couldn't stop drinking. So I went to AA, and I stayed in AA for several years until I realized that I was saying, if you're not familiar with AA, you normally, if you speak at AA, you have to say, my name is Corey, I'm an alcoholic. Well, what I realized is the two most powerful words in the English dictionary are I am. So by me saying I am an alcoholic, it makes me feel like I'm still broken. It makes me feel like I'm fucked, basically. And so once I realized that, I never went back. And guess what? I didn't get what they said I was going to get, which was you're going to go out. You're going to drink again. I haven't had a fucking drink, nor am I going to. Like, I don't drink. It's not an option for me. And I don't care if people are drinking around me. It doesn't bother me. Now, do I love being around drunk people? Absolutely not. Do I do it often? Absolutely not. And if I see that getting ready to happen, I just exit, and it's not a big deal. It's not like I have to. I just don't like to put up with people. And so that was a big deal in my life. And I was training. By the way, I had a personal training company at the time. No, that's not true. I was working for a gym at this time. I was a head trainer, and at this point I was remarried. I got married to a girl that, I don't know what I was thinking. I'll be honest with you, I just don't. But I got married again. That fell apart. But I was sober the whole time. And what I realized, part of the reason that we split was she would come home drunk at 3:00 in the morning. Now, I'm in AA, like that doesn't make sense. You know better than that. Common sense would tell you not to do that. But anyway, that's beside the point. And so I had started kind of a shell company for tax reasons. Like I had an LLC. That was it. So I could write off taxes. Well, she told my boss, and my boss had no choice per the owner but to fire me. I was the number one producing trainer in the whole company for every single month except for two. And that was like a 5-year stint. So it didn't help them for me to leave. And then I was really in a pickle because, well, now I had to figure out what the hell to do because I have no college, keep in mind. I still have a felony. And I have this this LLC with ultimately no people. And so I had to hustle. I had to hustle hard, dude. I just gotten into a new relationship, which was with my current wife.
When was this? What year?
This was in 2013. It was December 31st, 2013. That's the day I got fired.
Okay. From the LLC?
No, from the gym that I worked at that found out that
gotcha.
I had the LLC.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of it propelled me forward to start my own shit, which I was not expecting to do. And so, but I made it work. I made it work. It worked out. It always works out some shape, form, or fashion. And I don't see that egotistically. It's just I look back at the things that have happened in my life, and lots of them are meanwhile they didn't seem like they were good things, but they wound up being pretty good things.
Mm-hmm.
Even me getting stopped with drugs is probably a really good thing because I may have died if I hadn't have done that.
Yeah.
If that hadn't happened. So in 2015, my current wife and I, we got married, and I still had my personal training company, and it was doing well. And one of my clients, I was also working with HCG and some peptides, and that's a whole long story, but we're going to get to that. And so my client said, "Hey, you ever thought about doing this as a business?" And I'm like, "Well, it's kind of a side business." And he was like, "Well, like a storefront." And I'm like, "I mean, it's a great idea. I think it would do great, but I don't know. I don't know that much about it, but I know enough. I think we can make it work." Don't ever go into business with that mindset, because if you think you might know enough, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a construction guy. Like, he had no earthly idea what we were doing, no clue. And I knew he had no clue. And I knew that he was trusting in me to handle everything, which is exactly what happened, except for one thing, which was the finances. And so I sold my training business, and we opened up a med spa. And it had, we had laser hair removal, we had Botox, we had growth hormone, we had testosterone. It was fucking cool, dude. It was really, I was like, this is my jam, because I loved everything in there. It was so cool to me. And so what happened in 2018, which is when I started coaching, or when I started business coaching, so to speak, that was a really rough time for me, because October 1st of 2018, my business partner walked into my office and said, "Hey, I can't pay you anymore." I'm like, what do you mean you can't pay me anymore? Like, I run the whole shit. Like, if I leave, what do you have? You don't know anything. And he was like, "Well, that's the decision. I'm going to keep in mind 50-50 partners with this guy, literally 50-50. And so, you know, long story short, I said, "Well, I'll give him 2 more weeks to pay me, and then I'll have to make a decision." But here's the next, a part before that, or in that time, was I was supposed to buy my ticket to go see Tony Robbins. And I had been journaling, I had been visualizing. I knew I was going to see Tony Robbins in November. No, there was no question until that day. And I'm like, dude, like that was a lot of money that I didn't get that day that I was planning to buy the ticket with. And so I was crushed about the business, but I was also crushed that I didn't think I was going to go. And I knew there was something inside of me that said I needed this. I needed to go to this event. And my wife knew how bad I wanted to go to this event. And so she called me, I want to say it was October 4th, 5th, somewhere in that vicinity. She said, I need you to go to your computer. And I was like, dude, I'm fucking in the bathroom. I'm busy. I've got shit to do. She's like, I just need you to go sit down in front of your computer. And I'm like, okay. So I sit down in front of the computer and I open it up. And there was an email from Robin's research. And she had worked out a deal. And she got me a really great ticket.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Probably one of the nicest things anybody's ever done for me, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. And that's who you're currently with, right? Awesome. Do you guys have any kids?
So to answer your question, yes. She had a daughter before I came into the picture. She was 3.5 years old, but since that day, I've taken care of her. Been with me. She's lived with us. She is my daughter. Like, I don't look at her any differently. She doesn't look at me any differently. In fact, she probably looks at me more as a dad than her current, her biological father, because, early on he was a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Good on you.
He's gotten
man.
better.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot better. But so I went to the event and I walked across the fire, which was just unbelievable. It's probably 20 feet of red hot cold. And there's something about that. There's something about walking across those fucking hot coals. When you finish that and you realize I did that, I walked across there and I didn't even get burnt. There's a power in that, dude. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it. To be honest, I was a little bit disappointed because I was like, damn, I felt nothing. And I thought, is it not hot? I mean, I'm seeing it burn. Like, I know it's hot. And until I got back to my room and I realized my feet were completely black. I didn't get burnt though. I got 0 burns.
Wow.
It was unreal. And so that started me on the journey of, I went and I got my NLP certification and I just really went to work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time.
What's an NLP certification?
Yep. Neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
So it's language of the mind.
Okay.
So Tony uses a lot of NLP.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he got in trouble years ago for using it because it's not his. But he made it his own, whatever. And so now you can go get certified if you want. It's a pretty in-depth process, but it was cool. I mean, I don't know what it did for me, but I'm sure it did something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consciously use it. Which is probably ridiculous because I should consciously use it, but I just don't care about it. I just don't care to even learn any more about it. It just wasn't that interesting to me. It was interesting at the time, not now. And so what took place, I guess, after that, that's when I started coaching. I was working with a lot of people for free, which I don't encourage doing that. And the reason I don't encourage doing that is because guess what? I got no results. People didn't get results because they weren't fucking paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody ever asked, well, why would you charge for that? Well, because you're not going to do it if I don't charge you for it.
That's a good point.
You're just not.
That's a great point.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about, the courses in particular, 30% of them get watched all the way. 30%. That's it. So I'm not the only person that doesn't finish courses. Anyway, so I started my coaching business and, I went to a friend of mine asked me to go to the Arte Syndicate Summit in November of 2019 or October of 2019. Yeah. So a year later from the disaster. By the way, he didn't pay me and I had to go and rent a U-Haul and back it up. And in the middle of the night, I took 49% of the shit out of there. And I'm going to tell you something. I also had a hidden camera that nobody knew about. And to watch those motherfuckers scramble the next day, it was hilarious. So, because they thought they got robbed. They had no idea. Naturally, I took all the machines that made money. I left them with the ones that didn't. because it's leverage. And so I had to get through all that mess, which was fine. It actually worked out better than I anticipated because, well, I walked away with no money and no zero zilch, starting fresh over all again. But the great news about that is we were $350,000 in debt, and I had no earthly idea because that was the one thing I didn't handle. And so he told me that, and I'm like, I'm blown away. Like, how is it you're just now telling me this? Anyway, so that was part of the negotiation. I give you everything, including the debt. I walk away with nothing, and that's exactly how it went. And I was okay with that. It was still a rough time because I was starting over, like again, starting over. And it's like, damn. And so it was a very, very dark time for me. I can remember, I remember sitting in my office just not knowing what the hell I was going to do, door shut, and just in my own shit, basically. And to be honest with you, the thing that got me out of it was part of it was microdosing, microdosing mushrooms, which is definitely illegal. But I don't care. Like I do not give a shit because it got my mind to a place where I could function right. And I don't mean when I say microdosing, very, very, very small amounts every few days. So it's not like you trip or anything like that. But the psychological benefits from it were astronomical. Let's see.
So you went to the summit.
I went to the summit, and at the time that I went to the summit, I had bought my show slug for my podcast. That's it. I had the mic in the box, in the closet. I had no idea how to do a podcast. Keep that in mind. Zero idea. And I am not a technical dude. So at the summit, I met a guy named Ryan Williams. Were both of you at LDL?
What's that? Lion's Den? No. I'm in the Lion's Den. Okay,
gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so Ryan was there, and I'm so grateful he was there because he was. So I looked at him. I had my picture taken with him, and I didn't really know who he was. I just knew I needed to be near him, and I don't know how to explain that. Just an interesting guy. Mm-hmm. Well, turns out, so when I was taking my picture, I said, "Hey, I host a podcast. You want to be a guest on it?" And he was like, "Yeah, why not?" And I'm like, "Oh shit! What am I going to do? I don't know how to do a podcast." So I just rolled with it, dude. I just rolled with it, and I spent the next 2 weeks. I bet you I spent 19 hours a day figuring this shit out. It was unbelievable because I told you I'm not a technical guy, and so that's how the podcast started. And honestly, that trip kind of got me to a different place in my life. That's when I joined the RTA Syndicate, and I befriended a lot of people in there, and I interviewed a lot of people there, kind of like what you're doing with me. Mm-hmm. And it put me on a road for success because I surrounded myself with people that were killing it in business. I wasn't killing it in business. I wasn't doing shit. But I knew if I didn't surround myself with these guys, I still wasn't going to be shit. And I also knew that if I didn't successfully do this podcast, I thought everybody's going to know I suck at podcasting. It will never take off. And so it was successful. It was successful. And Ryan he's a Navy SEAL. Like, he's a badass dude. Like, I had no idea what I was getting into with him. And he's just a super, super, super great guy. And that is, and that's kind of, let me think if what we have next is, I still kind of, that's it. I mean, I started coaching. I started working with this guy on video for a little bit, which didn't turn out to be anything. And here we are.
So yeah, like not even 2 years, and you're the sales CEO. And from the looks of it, it looks like you're doing pretty darn good for yourself.
I've made a lot of great strides in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So when was about the turning point, you think? So I've got a couple things in my head about, so the summit, you just kind of said, it seemed like there was a bunch of turning points in your life, but it just seemed like the summit, really what I got back in 2019 was really what kicked it off for you.
Honestly, it was. It really was. And one thing I did leave out, last year, I went and, as I told you, I got very spiritual throughout this time because, I just felt like that's the way I needed to go. And so I went and I did 2 ayahuasca journeys in 2020. And I'll bring that up because there's some really powerful things that happen during those experiences. The first time I went, I didn't realize that. First of all, I didn't realize I was supposed to close my eyes. That's the first issue. Second issue is I try to control everything around me, and that's something that I didn't either ego wouldn't allow me to admit that, or I just didn't recognize it. Whichever way you look at it, I still wasn't recognizing it. And so what that did, though, is it blocked me from the medicine. And so I didn't have the experience I thought I was going to have. In fact, I fell asleep the first night. And so I had some really cool shit happen after that. For example, I was mowing my front yard that Monday after I got back, and my dad bought me the lawnmower, right? Not a big deal. I've mowed my yard a million times. But that day, looking down at that lawnmower, it was like somebody was talking to me. And it was like, what was said to me was, the reason you don't talk to your dad as much as you do is because you compare yourself to him at your age, and you're never far enough along. He's always been further in business, further in his career, further in life than I am at whatever age that I'm at. So I'm 43. When he was 43, he was much further in life than I am. So he also didn't do much drugs either. So that probably helped. The second journey, though, was the most interesting one because I interviewed the medical director, and the card on the camera ran out in the middle of the interview, and the girl that was supposed to be watching the camera walked away. Nobody knew the fucking camera ran out, so we just kept on doing the podcast. And so we realized that after the fact, and we had to redo the whole thing. But here's why we had to redo the whole thing, because I didn't catch what he was saying the first time. And this was the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, his way of saying, you need to pay attention. And so he said, he looked at me during the second interview and he said, you think you might have some control issues? I said, yeah, probably. He said, well, do me a favor. When you take the medicine tonight, but I want you just to lay there and think about nothing. He said, just lay there, keep your eyes shut, and don't try to control the medicine. I said, I don't think I was trying to control it. He goes, you were absolutely trying to control it. And so what I realized is what I was really trying to do is control me not throwing up again, because it's pretty fucking violent when you throw up on ayahuasca. It's disgusting. And so I did that. And when I did that, I'm telling you, 30 seconds after my mind quieted, that's when it happened. And I can't explain it. I can't explain what happened, what took place. It's not like taking a bunch of mushrooms. It's not like taking a bunch of acid. It's just different. And I don't know how to explain it. And it's interesting because it's almost like demons are coming out of you. And what I mean by that is, like, I had these weird facial tics. And like, I'm completely aware, by the way, keep in mind, this whole time, I know what's going on, but there are uncontrolled movements in my hands, in my mouth, not uncomfortable, just weird. Super weird. And like, everybody gets weird when they take ayahuasca to a degree. So it wasn't like I felt weird because I was there with people. I was just acting weird. I don't know how to explain it. And so, but what happened during that time is the same voice came back and it was like, you don't value yourself as much as other people value you. You don't see yourself in the same light. And that was a hard pill to swallow because deep down, I knew that. I just didn't want to admit it. And I acted like, even at the time, this was just last year, I was like, yeah, I don't really think that, I'm not going to really acknowledge that. But the truth is, that's exactly what it was. And the second thing that came to me during that experience was I'm not patient. I'm still not that patient, but I was sitting on the toilet waiting to go to the bathroom, and it was just that same voice. It's like, dude, stop rushing. You have nowhere to be. You have nowhere to go. Sit here and go through the experience. That's exactly what was said. And so I did that. I don't know how long I sat there, but I sat there for quite some time. Um, and I do believe those two experiences really changed a lot for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain it other than just having that awareness of the things I just listed and knowing that I need to work on those things and consciously doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing, is just enjoying the moment, no matter what it is. If it's sitting on the toilet, like be in the moment kind of thing. And I mean, that's with anything in life. That's pretty cool.
It is. Lots of times though, I'm 1 foot out, 1 foot in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm running so fast that I miss stuff, and I don't pay attention sometimes. Now, when it comes to my business stuff, I do pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
But shit like, me leaving a water bottle, um, sitting in my office where it shouldn't be, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I forget that shit all the time.
So it's almost like the core four stuff we've been learning. I mean, that first one is just, if you're not going to give 100%, if you're giving 25% something else, you're only giving 75% to what you're trying to focus on.
That's right.
It's definitely there and a thing. So I want to go back. So through this whole time, I mean, how was your support system through it all? You said you talked about your dad, and then you had a stepmom. Where was your mom in this whole process?
She's been there the whole time. I mean, she lives in Winston-Salem, so not far from me.
Mm-hmm.
My dad lives in Wilson. I have a great relationship with both, but like a lot of family, um, my mom, when I call her, she tells me about everybody that's died, like I care, or like I want to hear that. If I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know that, I would go read the fucking obituaries, but I don't want to know that. I don't care. And so, I have to distance myself a little bit from that because I don't want that energy. I just don't. And my dad is, my dad's my dad. He's cool. We're still good. Everything's
Mm-hmm.
fine. And um, yeah. So stepmom's out of the picture. But support system wise, I have to say that my wife has been unreal,
Mm-hmm.
unreal. Like I can't even tell you, dude. Like the things that she's done and the support system that I've had by her being here, hands down, I put up against anybody's wife on this planet.
That's awesome.
Guarantee you, she'll crush their ass.
So back like in your teens, high school years, 20s and everything, what about this? So would you go back to the same friends that you were with? So what was your, I guess, I don't want to say motive, I guess, when it was with the drugs and stuff? What kind of made you keep going back to that?
Well, when I was 12 years old, I grew up a fat kid. Like that's just all there is to it. I was at the graduation party at my sixth grade graduation party, and there was three girls sitting at the end of the pool. I would jumped on the diving board. They asked me to do it again. I'm thinking they think I'm cute, so I do it 3 times. The third time I climb out, they're laughing. And they said, "You ever think about wearing a training bra?" And I mean, it destroyed me.
I'm sure as a
It
12-year-old.
just God Almighty, dude. So, but guess what? That summer, I lost all the weight, and it's never come back, and it won't ever come back. I will
Wow.
starve myself before it comes back. Um, but to answer your question about would I go back to the old friends? No, because I'm just in a better place now, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't associate with people that are doing weird shit,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't associate with people that get drunk every weekend. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your thing, that's your thing. But it's just not my thing. I'd rather be working on my business than I would
Yeah.
be hanging out and doing nothing.
Yeah. So what was that? What switched that mindset to before where you're at now? Now you're saying you don't want to be around that at all, but where was kind of that turning point where you're like, I really don't want to be around that anymore?
2005 when I got arrested for cocaine.
Yeah.
That was that. Yeah, I was done with any kind of drugs like that. As soon as that happened, I was out. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so, there was, yeah, it was just I had a lot of fun, but there's a lot of consequences that come with that, and a whole lot of money that was spent. So,
Yeah. So with back when you said you were having some, you got out of it was jail, I think, for the 17 days, and you said you had a felony. What did you have to do to get the job? I mean, how hard was that process to get a new job?
I lied.
So when
I
you
lied.
got those questions on the application, you just lie, huh?
Yep. I
Yeah.
just lied. And so, but it didn't, I shouldn't say it bit me in the ass, because it didn't bite me in the ass. It almost bit me in the ass when they figured it out. And I was at that training in Arizona, and they called and they're like, yeah, you forgot to tell us you were a convicted drug trafficking felon. And I'm like, I didn't think that mattered. Because it shouldn't matter,
Yeah, it
because I
does.
wasn't
Yeah,
that guy anymore.
that does suck. I mean, I've questioned that before. I mean, if someone's not willing to change themselves and they're going to keep doing the stuff that they've been doing, yes, I understand why those questions are on there and people need to know that. But to what point does it get to keep following you around? Like if you're willing to change, what
Yeah.
do you got to do to prove that? What do you got to do? Because it's almost like society just wants to keep burying these people that are on this track of drugs and alcohol, and it's just keep pushing them down, keep pushing them down, keep them aside. It's frustrating.
It's very similar. It's very similar, I think, to people that have PTSD. I mean, I think that a lot of people that have PTSD get labeled, and when they get
Hmm.
labeled as having PTSD, it's like almost like they get shit on.
Yeah,
And so it's very similar, I think.
you get this label put on you. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had a trainer come into our company and he'd show us a video of someone recording someone just completely drugged out, passed out on a bench in public. And he's like, why are we sitting here taking the time to record them? Why are we not giving them a helping hand and helping them find a way out of this? I mean, we sit here and point and laugh and make fun and say they'll never get out of this. Maybe you're the person that can get them out of that, or maybe you have something that you can provide them and get them out of that.
That's true, and you're right. And you know what? I'll tell you that on the PTSD side, my the place that I went to do ayahuasca, they do a for any vet. If you're struggling, they will pay for you to fly there. They'll pay for your stay. They'll pay for everything. Every single week, they bring in 10 vets. It's all vet run.
Hmm.
There's no outside people. And it's a place where, and these guys that come there, they're ready to blow their brains out. Like, that's the
Wow.
conversation on the phone. If this doesn't work, I'm done. I'm blowing my head off. And they've never lost a single person.
Wow. I might need to get that contact information from you because we have a Lots for Soldiers company. We also have a, what is it, Silent 22
Yep, solid 22.
nonprofit that it's the 22 veterans that kill themselves a day. It's just a group that gets together and just talks, because a lot of them just say, I can't stand going to the doctor because they just feed you these meds and everything. So that would be cool to get that resource from you, and maybe I can pass that along.
For sure.
You got any questions right now?
No, I'm just taking in the story.
It's definitely a different story than what we've heard in all of our episodes so far. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's, we talk about, perseverance and stuff like that from a lot of the stories, and how many times have you overcome, struggles that you were facing, and just awesome to hear that, and to, just know that's shaping the person that you are now. You don't have that label anymore. So, yeah, sure.
Even like I just said,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got those people out here that are videotaping these people that are passed out on the side of the road. Your story could maybe be that proof that, hey, we don't always need these. Maybe we should look at our process of how we're hiring people, because we have Corey over here that found his way through. There's plenty of people that find their way through. You hear these success stories all the time. And that's where I'm trying to come in and get this awareness out there and hear this stuff, so we can maybe build this network and be like, hey, let's take a step back and think about this, and maybe we should start finding a different process and giving these people chances.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, I think that, a lot of people do get shoved into Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. And, you know, I would argue that, there's a 93% failure rate. So, like, Jesus Christ, like, you're not going to go to a poker table with that kind of odds. Why the hell would you do it with your life? And so I think a lot of people probably won't agree with this, and I don't care. But I believe that it keeps you stuck.
Well, it does, because you're saying that repeatedly over and over and over again. I am this, I am that. No, that's,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you said. It's 100% saying that over and over. It trains your mind to say, okay, this is what I am, and this is what I'm going to be until, forever.
And then on the other hand, you have all these other influencers and big time people that are like this positive self-talk, law of attraction. I mean, you've got to give yourself that positive self-talk, because what's the point? I mean, you're telling me to wake up and say, I am strong. I am grateful. I am this. But if you're sitting there, like you said, I am is the two strongest words in English language. I mean, if you're telling yourself I'm an alcoholic, the way our mind,
what you're going to be.
Even if it's getting stored in your subconscious mind, I mean, it's what it is.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people don't get out, to be honest. And look, a lot of people they'll be in for 23, 24, 25 years and then go out and drink. And it's like, well, clearly it's not working. Like, if 25 years and you still go out and drink, like, come on.
That might be it right there. They're literally telling themselves every time, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty cool to think about.
It would be no different. It would be no different than you saying to somebody, yeah, I have PTSD. Even though you don't, eventually you're going to start believing your own shit. That's right.
Yeah. Oh,
that's a good point.
For sure.
So how long have you been without a drink?
It'll be 12 years on August 12th.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Kudos. Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you.
And you said, and then you said 2005 when you got arrested for cocaine was the last time of the drugs. So, I mean, that's awesome on you, man. Yeah. Definitely awesome.
But it takes a lot of pain to stop me, dude.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of pain.
What was your darkest moment?
For sure, those 17 days in jail. And, when I lost the clinic, that was, I didn't really know what I was going to do because I was devastated. I just didn't you could have hit me in the head with a cinder block and I would have not expected it. It's the same difference, right? I mean, I just didn't see it coming. And that's my fault. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. And so it just hit me just like Mike Tyson says, everything, or what does he say? Everything's great until you get punched in the mouth. And I got punched in the fucking mouth. And I didn't think I had another punch in the mouth left. I thought I'd been punched enough and I was wrong. So, but it was for the best. It was absolutely for the best.
Crazy story. It's awesome. It's good I love it.
Yeah. And another point to how far you've come is that point right there that you just said, it's all for the best. Like people can go through those things and then they can, well, this is what I've been through. This is why I'm struggling. This is why I'm doing this. You don't have that. You have everything I went through led me to this point, and it created a new me that led me to greater things. So it's awesome.
Agreed.
Love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. In the recovery process, so you probably went through multiple recovery processes, stages in your life. What was the one thing that really helped you get through it? Like, really clarify where you need to be, not what you want. Like, what was that one recovery step that really helped, that can maybe help someone else that's going through something similar?
I reached out for help.
Yeah.
Which was the hardest thing to do, is to reach out to somebody and say, I'm struggling. But you know what? It trained me to now do that if I'm struggling now.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. If I'm struggling, I'll tell you, I'm struggling. I need help. And, for the most part, I still have, there's a degree of ego still there. And I think, well, I'll just do it myself or I'll figure it out. But if I'm really struggling, I figure out who to talk to. And I get, I talk to people that I know are going to give me the right answer. Not the answer I want, but the answer I need.
Yeah. Because we are prideful humans, especially men, and want to hear one thing, but we need to hear something else.
Yeah. 100%.
And you can't do that without, you can't do it without people. So
that's right.
For sure.
You could trust.
Yeah.
And man, I'm going to tell you, after last year, man, my trust level has dropped significantly. Yeah. I mean, like, it makes me sick to my stomach to think for the last 42 years, I've, if I did watch the news, I just, you believe it. You believe whatever they're telling you because that's how you grew up. Yeah. Now it's like, shit, I don't believe anybody unless I see it and hear it out of their own mouth in person. Yeah. It's just like, damn, I've lost so much trust in our systems. And I mean, the way Trump got railroaded, like, I just can't even believe it. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it does suck. Definitely. Yeah. But hey, we keep pushing forward together.
So. That's right. That's right.
Do you want to add anything else? I'm gonna ask our final question, but if you want to add anything, like I said, this is your time.
Yeah, I think I haven't covered everything, but I would say that's a pretty good grasp.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The deepest part of my shit.
Mm-hmm. And it's just to see where you're at now is awesome, and kudos to you for sure. I mean, sales CEO. All right, so I kind of changed this question up. Actually, you did worded it better. My question was usually to people, what is it to you? What would you tell people it is to be a fire through a foggy time? But basically, what advice would you give someone going through something similar right now?
A couple of things. So if you don't know, if you're in a situation, let's just take the drug and alcohol part of it. If you're in a situation and you don't know what to do nothing. Sit there and do nothing. Because if you're in an emotional state, you may make a bad decision. And if you're like me, you will make a bad decision, because it's just like in sales. Like, we buy emotionally. We don't buy logically, even though, especially men, we think it's logical, but we don't. We buy emotionally. And so if you act out of emotion, most likely you could make a bad decision. I know for me, I will make a bad decision in a heartbeat. If I'm pissed off, I may I don't really put my fist to the wall anymore, but back in the day, and so the other thing I would say is that, if you just have to, you want to believe that things are going to be okay. And I'll tell you from my standpoint that they always have turned out okay. Even if it was a rough time, even if it was a time when I didn't really think there was a snowball chance in hell things were going to work out, and there's been many of those, I still fall back on the fact that I feel like I'm a pretty smart guy. I've just made some really shitty decisions, but I've also made a lot of great decisions. And the last thing I'll leave you with is this: at Lions Den Live, the biggest takeaway that I had from that event was I realized that because of me, I'm no further along in life. But here's the second part to that. But because of me, I'm where I'm at in life. And so nobody can take that shit away from me. The good, the bad, the indifferent. So I got me here to the point I'm at now, where I'm doing things, I'm making money, I'm working. But the other side of that is I always looked at it as I'm only this far in my life. And so I guess the biggest thing I'd say out of that whole thing, and I'm not saying I'm God, but I'm saying that if it weren't for the better decisions that I made, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here.
And I commend you on that.
Thank you.
I mean, that's awesome. I appreciate your time and story. Definitely. It's crazy what you've gone through and to where you're at now. Definitely. You want to add anything?
No, man. I definitely appreciate the time coming on. It is, like I said, the story's powerful. It's definitely, it's different for sure. And you didn't lie to us, a lot of good stuff in there. But the main thing is, the outlook that came afterward, You know, you can look at all the dark times, you can look at all the things that you've gone through, but it's the outlook that you have after the fact. Look what I came through. Look what I did. You know, look what I've overcome.
Yeah.
You know, there's no roadblocks for you. Go look ahead, you know. I can make it through anything after that. So
and I definitely felt 100% transparency, which is awesome. Authenticity. That's what we want. And that's for you. It takes courage for people to come out and say some of the stuff that you've said. And those people that will look at people that go through that things, they'll judge, they'll point fingers and just say, well, I mean, but then it's like, they need to take time to look internally at themselves, because to look at where you're at now, that takes courage. That takes a lot of strength, and a lot of suffering has uncovered a lot of strength for you. And that's got you to where you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely commend you on that, and appreciate your time. If you don't have anything else, we'll wrap this one up.
Appreciate you guys having me on. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.